So this video is not a comprehensive review of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but I just finished the game last night. I've been streaming it every day, trying to finish it. It took me 62 hours to finish it. And here's my gamer credentials, just so you know that I've actually played these video games. I have 121 hours in Kingdom Come Deliverance. I have the achievement for finishing the game. And in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, 62 hours. And you can see I've finished the game. 3% of people have finished the game at this point. So I have actually played the video game. First of all, that's probably better than 90% of the reviewers you're seeing on YouTube. The ones that did finish the video game, a lot of them are shills, aka they got early access. That's why their reviews were out 10 days ago. And they're going to have to put out a positive review, otherwise they're not going to be able to shill anymore. So you can't really trust them. And again, I wanted to make this quick. I wanted to get my thoughts out as soon as possible because the game's been out for a while now. Like I said, it took me 62 hours to even beat the game. And that was kind of me rushing at some points just to finish the main story quest. So I just wanted to kind of give a very quick summary of my thoughts on the game and compare it to the first game and whether or not I recommend it. So I guess I can open up some B-roll footage of me streaming the game while I'm talking about it rather than just staring at my Steam page, huh? But yeah, here's me playing the game. But anyways, so I want to start by talking about the story. The story of the first game was actually pretty good. It was simple to follow, and it was relatively short compared to the story of the second game. The story of the first game, your mom and dad dies. It's a classic tale of revenge, right? And then the story of the second game, it actually completely disrespects the knowledge of the player because it completely recaps the story of the first game. So it assumes that you don't remember or know anything that happened in the first game. So that was really horrible. Like the intro of the second game, there's legitimately a 20-minute sequence where Henry's walking around injured with PTSD, having flashbacks that recaps the entire plot of the first game. I'm not making that up. That's real. That's in the game. It was a slog. It was horrible, especially coming from someone who had just beaten the first game for the second time prior to playing the second game to kind of refresh myself, right? To hype myself up. So that was really boring. And on top of that, the story of the second game has way more characters, is way longer, is more convoluted, and honestly, I just found kind of boring. The hell, there's even a part in the second game where you have to infiltrate an anti-Semite meeting and save the Jews from Kuttenberg. Wow, incredible. This game isn't woke, by the way. But anyways, the story was just too long. It was too damn long. At about the 40-hour mark, about the time I would have finished the first game, I was starting to think, man, this is taking a long time, and nothing was happening. And then I would have a cutscene with 15 minutes of dialogue, and then it's like, oh, let's drink to celebrate. And then we'd have another 15 minutes of dialogue. And then, oh, now in this segment, we're going to be playing as Godwin, where you have to do another 15 minutes of dialogue and then another 15 minutes of drinking. It was a lot of dialogue. I didn't appreciate the character swapping. Never wanted to play as Godwin. Didn't care. It was pretty much all dialogue with, oh, surprise sword fight at the end. So, yeah. I would say overall, story, slightly worse than the first game. Pacing, slightly worse than the first game, but very similar. It feels more like a DLC to the first game. Next, I need to move on from the story, because honestly, the story doesn't really fucking matter. Some people care about stories in video games. I really don't. Stories are whatever. Stories are icing on the cake. I'm about the gameplay. How's the gameplay? Let's find some gameplay footage. So, the gameplay. The problem with the gameplay is that it's still buggy and janky. If you're not on perfectly flat ground when you're fighting someone, your hits just won't register. Like if you're slightly above someone, and God forbid you're on stairs, but if there's a slight slope on the ground and they're below you and you swing at their head, it just won't hit them. So the hit registration in this game is dog shit. It feels like they didn't actually play test the combat in the game except for on an even playing field. And another example, if you try to feed your dog, right? So how it works when you try to feed mutt, it drops food on the ground. If you're not on perfectly level ground, it'll just roll forever. That food will just roll forever, and your dog will never eat it, and then the food's gone. You lost it. It's like it's the physics of this game are pretty shitty overall. It's got those classic like jank Bethesda physics where people just have no friction and just slide infinitely down like a very slight slope. That's the physics that this game has. But overall, the combat actually slightly better than the first game. I know that's probably coming off as a shock after the tirade I just went on, but the first game, the combat in the first game is actually so shitty that even though the combat in this game is still not good, they improved on it. They changed how Master Strikes work. You can only Master Strike if you swing from the opposite side that their weapon is located on. You can also only do it with swords or fists. I don't believe you can Master Strike with heavy weapons. They added crossbows. They added the handgun. The handgun fucking sucks dick because you can't aim it. But crossbows are really cool. I like them even more than bows. They also fixed bow aiming so it goes at the tip of where the arrow is. Same with the crossbow. The reason why the handgun sucks is because it doesn't do that. It's just somewhere in the middle of the screen is where the shot's going to go. But who fucking knows? Right? You just kind of have to hope it hits. Weapon variation in this game, pretty much identical to the first game. I was disappointed. I thought they would have more tiers of weapons, like more unique weapons on the path of achieving the best weapons in the game, because that's part of the game, right? Gear progression. It's an RPG. But it actually felt pretty much the same, if not less interesting than the progression in the first game. I don't know if I'm wrong, if there are actually more weapons that I just never found, but it seemed like there were about the same options as in the first game, even though the game's much longer. So I expected more weapon variety. I expected more progression in the weapon categories, and it just wasn't really there. It didn't really change from the first game. But yeah, so combat, like I said, they kind of fixed Master Strikes. They made it a little more streamlined, but it's still jank. There's still poor hit detection. You can still get hit by Master Strikes from enemies. Granted, part of it's your own fault because, again, now you have to swing from the opposite side of their weapon in order for them to even Master Strike you at all. So, slight improvements. Still buggy. Still not great. Targeting is kind of shitty. I would recommend you actually lock onto people and then use tab to target between them, kind of like MMO targeting. Otherwise, you're going to have a nightmare because you're going to move your mouse to the right to try to swing from the right. And then it's going to think, oh, you want to look to the right and target this guy over here? No, I just wanted to swing to the right. That's why you kind of have to lock on to people in this game. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot more problems. So the combat, slightly better than the first game. Nothing worth writing home about. The biggest takeaway is that I think crossbows and the handgun are cool. Even if the handgun sucks, crossbows are cool. Yeah, that's honestly, combos still kind of worthless in this game. You're better off just doing Master Strikes or just wailing on them until their stamina is depleted and just fucking hacking them down. But yeah. So combat, nothing to write home about. What else? Side quests. Side quests were good. I thought the side quests were the best part of the game. Side quests and just making a shitload of groschen. That's something I always enjoyed. I had 60,000 groschen by the end of the game. So it's basically the same as the first game. Super easy to make money if you want to. You can loot thousands of groschens worth of armor off of enemies you kill, or you can just leave it because you don't really need the money. But yeah, the side quests, I thought some of them were cool. There's one where you go into a mine to fight a devil, and I'm not going to spoil it in case you want to play the game, but that was a cool side quest. I wish they had more side quests like that. The finale was kind of weak of that side quest. Again, I don't want to spoil it too much because it's kind of cool. Oh, there's a demon in the mine. But yeah, I wish they had more stuff like that. There's another quest where you talk to a ghost. You don't know it's a ghost, and it's very subtle, but it's clever. And I wish there was more stuff like that. I get that the game is realistic and they don't want to do like fantasy bridging stuff like that. But that was actually the best part of the game where you're like, oh, is there something fantastical going on here? Is there? And you kind of have to investigate, and there never is, except, like I said, the ghost, which is never explained or elaborated on, is also done very subtly. So I think the side quests are actually the highlight of the game, which is great, because the side quests were also the highlight of the first game for me. Hell, my favorite part of the first game was just running around and wiping out all the bandit camps. I thought that was really fun. But yeah, let's talk about the RPG elements next. The skills, the perks. So the perks, they're pretty much the same as the first game. The biggest difference is they removed all the perks for combos, and now you just learn combos from NPCs. And they replaced those with like kind of generic stuff like, oh, piercing does 5% more damage. Blunt weapons do 5% more damage. You generate stamina slightly faster, stuff like that. So a lot of it's pretty generic. You're not going to see any crazy perks that are really fun and wacky. There's a few of them that are kind of cool. Like, oh, when you get hit by a killing blow, you recover your HP, and now you have quadruple stamina regeneration for 30 seconds and a bonus to strength and agility. That's cool. It's like, oh, Berserk, activate. But you can only have like one or two of those perks. So a lot of them, like I said, are generic. They replaced the combo perks from the first game with generic like increased damage perks in the second game. So nothing special. It's serviceable. Your skills max at level 30, which honestly doesn't even take that long, especially for like combat skills like Houndmaster and swords. So the RPG elements didn't really improve upon it from the first game. I didn't feel any different than I did in the first game when I was spending my perk points. A lot of times I would wait until I had like 10 perk points to spend and then just go through, spend them all at once, because it doesn't really matter. They don't really change the game that much. Probably the best perks are the ones that allow you to sneak up and assassinate people more easily. But yeah, nothing special. Very similar to the first game. Nothing that really made me think, wow, this is such a cool innovation. So yeah, RPG elements, I would say on par with the first game. Bugs. Let's talk bugs. This is going to be the last thing I talk about. Surprisingly, not that bad. Performance and bugs. Performance, great. Way better than in the first game. The performance, I was getting a stable like 100 FPS. Granted, I was running the game on low because low to high, you couldn't tell much of a difference except the shadows look kind of shitty on low. So, performance, actually really, really good. Surprising. Every modern game I play nowadays, it feels like the performance is complete dog shit. Poor CPU optimization, right? Look at Elden Ring, for example. You can barely get 60 FPS on Elden Ring to this day. So, yeah, very pleasantly surprised when it came to performance. That's probably the biggest positive I have for the game is the performance. The bugs, not that bad. Not like Bethesda level of bugs, but not good either. Not as buggy as the first game when it released, but there's still some bugs. There were a couple times where an enemy would kind of get catapulted like 20 yards to the side, or I would get catapulted, or I would get stuck temporarily, just get launched out. Just stuff like that. Nothing game breaking. There were no bugs that messed up the scripting of the quests, which is, thank God, because that is like the one thing that I cannot tolerate. So nothing that game breaking, but just minor bugs. Like I said, hitbox is what I would say the biggest bug, where you're fighting an enemy and the hit just won't register, right? You'll feel like your sword's going through them. Or like I said, if you're on slightly uneven ground, the hit just won't register if you swing at their head because you're technically above them. So, and it doesn't compensate, but like aiming your swing down at the target, it just always swings in the same plane in front of you. So, yeah, pretty jank. Would I recommend this game? I would only recommend this game if you played the first game, finished it, actually beat the game, and are hungry for more. At that point, I would say, yeah, go ahead, get the second game. If you beat the first game, didn't really like it that much, got bored with it, and we're hoping that the second game is different, don't buy it. You're not going to like it. It's not really different than the second game. In fact, I would say it's slower and more boring than the first game, sadly. It has a lot of dialogue, a lot of Godwin segments, a lot of wine pouring shit, like boring filler stuff. The first game felt more exciting. More, like I said, the pacing of the first game I think was better. So, genuinely, I think the first game is actually still the better game. So yeah, if you like the first game and you're hungry for more, sure, get the second game. If you haven't played the first game and you're wondering if you should get the second game, don't. Just get the first game when it's on sale. If you play it and if you actually beat it and want to play more Kingdom Come Deliverance, at that point, sure, get the second game. But Yeah, so that's kind of my review. Now there was a reason why I didn't touch the gay romance with Hans and Musa. Not gay romance with Musa, but just Musa being in the game until the end of the video. Because I know people really don't like hearing about that. People get upset. But yes, Musa's in the game. Yes, he feels forced. Is it treated realistically? Yes, because the first time you encounter him, people are all racist against him. They try to get him killed in a trial. Henry's like freaking out because he's never seen a black dude before. It's actually handled pretty well. It's pretty tasteful. It's kind of funny. Should he be there? No. Musa just kind of gets shoehorned into the story after that. Like he'll show up in cutscenes and just stand there doing nothing as if he's one of the main cast, and it feels really forced and really weird. Yes. So Musa, I don't know why he's in the game. It even with how they shoehorned him in, he still feels like he's just cherry picked and plopped into cutscenes later on in the game for the sake of diversity. He feels like a completely empty void character that adds nothing. So I don't know why Moose is even in the story. Well, I do know why, but you know what I mean. And then the gay sex. It is extremely easy to not do the gay sex at all. You have to pick. There's an option that will say like, I care about you, Hans, and it has a heart next to it. You have to pick that option. And then you have to keep picking those options throughout the game. And at the very end of the game, right before the final battle, you can have gay sex with Hans if you do all that. So you have to really try hard to be gay. Now, this doesn't justify it. Just because it's easy to not be gay doesn't mean that it's okay for them to add it. Because it's still, everyone knows now that Hans and Henry can be gay. So when you're playing the game and they have like a bro moment, right? Or they help each other out, or they have a moment where they're just alone together talking, you can't help but think, oh shit, they made them gay. Oh yeah, this whole thing, the subtext here is ruined between their relationship because, oh yeah, the writers actually meant that, oh, they can be gay. So yeah, maybe they're actually, what they're saying here has little gay hints of subtext underneath. It ruins a lot of the interactions between them. It's like if you have two frat bros who are good friends, and then you're like, and they were friends for the first entire story, and then the next story, it's like, oh, but they have an option to be gay now, even though they were never gay. The first scene of the first game has Henry literally looking at Teresa's ass in the first cutscene of the first game. And they always talk about having sex with wenches, but no, we just need to make them gay. And surely it's not because they made us do it. Surely it's not to do with BlackRock. No, it makes the game better because it adds more freedom of choice, and it's an RPG. It's all about freedom of choice. No, it's bullshit. It shouldn't have been in the game. It makes the game worse. Like I said, it ruins a lot of the subtext of the interactions between Hans and Henry. It kind of shits on their established characters as womanizers, and they love wenches. They talk about this all the fucking time. And like I said, it kind of, it muddies the waters and definitely lessens the bro relationship that they have. So it does actually make the game worse, sadly, even though a lot of people will cope and try to say it makes the game better. But so that was kind of my rambling review. Like I said, I wanted to spit out all the thoughts in my head fresh after finishing the game. Obviously, if you want to see more gameplay, you can just piece through the live streams. It's all there on my channel. I stream the whole game. I might come out with a full, like, formal review, but not sure yet. Not sure if this game warrants it. It wasn't that good. And yeah, there's a lot of people shilling, saying it's the best RPG of the decade. It's not. It's really not. It's kind of boring. The pacing's boring. It didn't really innovate from the first game. In a lot of ways, it's worse than the first game. In some ways, it's better. Some ways, it's worse. Yeah, it's tough to say. But I kind of gave my thoughts on if you should buy it or not. So hopefully that's good enough of a review. I would say this game was, I would say it was slightly below my expectations. That's where I'll put it. I still like the first game more. But I'll end the video there. I've been rambling for too long. Thanks for watching. Like the video if you like it. Dislike if you dislike it or disagree with me. It's totally fine. Leave a comment. Let me know what you disagreed with. And yeah, if you want to see more ramblings like this, subscribe to my channel. I'm a new channel, so subscriptions go a really, really long way. And thanks for watching. Peace.